Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Apologies, these cracked ribs of mine are absolutely kicking my ass. But I am still continuing with the daily uploads. Oh. And we are checking out another video from 6, and we have got Kakashi versus Guy. Now, interesting one. I do think that when it comes to Kakashi versus anybody within the Naruto series, if you use Kakashi from the end of Shippuden, he just wins against everybody. Guy did a really freaking good job against Madara, and it was really interesting. As the series went on, they both grew. The rivalry was boss, but it'd be interesting to see who the real winner is here. So it's Kakashi versus Guy, the real winner, and I reckon it's Kakashi. I'm just gonna put that up. Yeah. Thought about by us, the readers. This is a heavy topic. Oh yeah, definitely. Not only by us. It's always fun to see them on screen. In the story, such as Sasuke after seeing Guy perform a body flicker prior to the Chunin exams preliminaries and claiming he's actually faster than Kakashi. Or Guy himself, who seems to take the rivalry way more serious than Kakashi. Yep, definitely. Yeah. Sasuke hasn't actually seen Kakashi move at full speed by this point, so it's not too important of a statement for Guy. But according to Guy, when it comes to him and Kakashi, his matches, he's currently up one in the wins department. Although this doesn't really have any meaning, since we know that some of the matches that they take part in are like rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, all the stupid little games that they play is so good. Over most of the forms of Guy versus Kakashi here, at least the ones we see specific ones. Yeah, running around the town on the hands instead of the feet and stuff like that. I'll bring databook statements in as need be by the specific part, as each databook has its own cutoff for what part of the manga the information contained in it pertains to. For example, Databook 1 only covers up to chapter 119, so anything mentioned within the book is likely only pertaining to those chapters and the information of course. At that point in the manga. Which actually leads into the way this video will be structured, which will essentially be 4 different points. Kakashi vs. Guy up to chapter 119. Okay. Then up to chapter 244, then up to chapter 402, and then up to chapter 691. The episode equivalent to all these arcs when they take place will be mentioned in the video in the corresponding section, but all of these chapters are exactly where the databooks go up to in chronological order. This is so fun to see all these clips though. This way is a lot more consistent, as it essentially marks the different places Kishimoto split up his manga. As is known, Kishimoto authored every single databook. That being said, obviously the more current databook would supersede the last one, Databook 4 correcting a lot of the things in Databook 3. See, I think I only have Databook 1 and 2, or it might have been a character profile book. I keep forgetting that all my manga are downstairs now, it's so weird. Oh. Information from the anime as well, and not only use manga canon material, since a lot of you have likely only seen the anime, and if I do manga only, I'd kind of be warping your perception of the show, which I don't think is all too fair. If you like this kind of video, be sure to subscribe. And this is going to be very interesting. A lot, and I'd really appreciate it. But let's start with Kakashi vs. Guy up to chapter 119 or episode 70. Okay. Yeah. As far as this point in the story goes, this is likely going to come down to who is the overall better combatant or ninja between the two of them. Since we have statements from the first databook that directly puts them on a similar level, if not equal. The character files of Databook 1 say about Guy, he overpowers the enemy with terrific strength and speed. You can catch a glimpse of his ability, which is comparable to Kakashi's. Both definitions of ability by Oxford languages are either possession of the means or skill to do something, or talent, skill, or proficiency in a particular area. Considering Guy is a fighter who only kicks and punches, his ability just the taijutsu, isn't it? Yeah, it's should mean they are around the same speed and strength. The Konoha 100 leaves section of Databook 1 questions if Guy and Kakashi are eternal rivals, and says it's thought that their true strengths are said to be extremely close to one another. We also get the databook calling into question the validity of Guy's statement that he is up one on Kakashi, implying he may have lied to Team 7 when he told them that. Oh, okay, interesting. Kakashi's portrayal in part 1 is a big point of contention, not specifically for this topic, but about his character in general. I know I've heard Swag mention in the past that he thinks Kakashi's portrayal is supposed to be that of an average Jonin. Me personally, I think it's better supported that Kakashi is supposed to be portrayed as the best of the Jonin and overall best ninja. I think I've got a good grasp on this now, but before continuing, I just want to say I don't know if Swag still holds that opinion. He was was just the first example that came to mind. But in
everybody get in touch with Swag and let him know that Six is slagging him off.
He did a set of interesting statements that I think make this debate go a bit in Kakashi's favor. In the data book, it's mentioned that Kakashi is Konoha's #1 master of techniques, Konoha's strongest ninja, and that his Raikiri can cut through anything. Then in the fan book, we learn that he is indeed Konoha's top Jonin. This, along with Kakashi possessing the Sharingan and working out the weakness of stamina drain, at least from back in his fight with Zabuza, which, yes, you can argue he did from this early on. Kakashi fought the entire way through Konoha Crush with his Sharingan on and was not bedridden or hospitalized afterwards, as we see him attending Hiruzen's funeral, and we know he was using his Sharingan for bare minimum an hour, since that's how long the Hiruzen and Orochimaru fight took. So, as we have it right now, Kakashi has the superior ninjutsu, can adapt to Gai's taijutsu due to the Sharingan, and is stated and implied numerous times to be the best ninja the Leaf has to offer. So for this round, I'm going to give it to Kakashi.
Okay, fair.
As far as the battle goes for this next part of Part 1, that being from Chapter 120 to Chapter 238,
which part is this?
or Episode 71 to Episode 135 or 142, I want to bring up a fairly interesting discussion that's not ever really talked about, and that's Gai's lack of use of the gates in Part 1.
Yeah, he doesn't really use them at all.
All 238 chapters, I could not find a single example of Guy even opening the first gate.
And wow, yeah, it's always Lee, isn't it? It's just been taught.
One implication that he can even do it in the first place, saying that Lee inherited the technique from him.
Yeah, passed it down, so it's like,
I wanted to bring it up in this section because it's the closing section to Part 1. Regardless, I'm sure it's just as weird to everyone else as it is to me, or was to me, that my guy never opened the gate in Part 1. I wouldn't even blame some of you if you didn't believe me and went to go check
yourself. Yeah, that is a bit of an odd one. That's crazy.
At this point in the manga, it's not all too implied that Guy and Kakashi are still relative, and the only thing we really have to go off of is the data book stat charts. I know these have a lot of bad rep in the fandom for the outlandish conclusions you could draw with them, but allow me to offer the way I think these are most reliably interpreted. This is actually told to us in Data Book 3. It tells us these graphs are actually shinobi progression charts. So you can actually track how they've grown throughout different points in the series. This is a concept dropped in Data Book 4, but I believe what's being told to us here is that these stats are individualistic and based on how strong this specific shinobi could get, or how smart whatever the stat says.
The intelligence and all that, yeah.
Seemingly only increase in increments of 0.5, meaning the data book only documents increases of 10 through 19% of a specific stat. Using this method of interpretation,
this is very interesting. We're going mathematical here.
We see that Kakashi has improved his speed, intelligence, and taijutsu by at least 10%.
Okay.
And Guy was already at his physical peak and just trained to keep it up. I'm sure from this you can easily draw which conclusion I'm going to have at this point in the video, but there is actually an interesting part of the discussion when Guy confronts Itachi. It's already established at this point Kakashi is stronger than Guy via the progression charts, but Guy still might be able to pull out a W since he knows his own counter Sharingan techniques that can be looked at as either a physical...
Well, yeah, because he's trained his whole, however many years to just fight Kakashi, hasn't he? So,
developed a knack for determining his opponents via the movement of their feet, and since he's developed these techniques for Kakashi, I think it's fairly disingenuous to say this would hinder him in this specific battle. It's also not like Kakashi got massively faster or stronger either. His strength stayed the same and he only got like 10 to 19% faster. And it's also stated that even Itachi retreats in front of Guy's combat skill in the data book, which if you take at complete face value, you just know Guy would absolutely dick on Kakashi the same way Itachi did. Or you could go with a more honest interpretation that Itachi is just extremely tired post using Tsukuyomi, which is actually stated later on in the series, and use the fact that a Kakashi over Guy link has already been established to further support this interpretation. Outside of that, I'd like to say the fight could go either way, especially considering how they are both stated or shown to be above Kisame, and neither one of them completely ragdolled him, just got the upper hand on him in some way. But if I'm being completely honest, this is still kind of in Kakashi's favor, and he probably still takes the W again. There's around 8 chapters after the end of Part 1 that are dedicated to Kakashi's backstory, where he gains his Sharingan and becomes the hero of Konami.
This part
is placed differently somewhere in the Shippuden anime, but it's not all too
very
relevant to the
strangely
fight,
as
and it
well.
was just
So
something I thought I'd
weird
mention
how they
because the next part
switch
of the
it
video
around.
is going to be covering chapter
It's like they went,
245
oh
to
god, yeah,
chapter
we didn't show that bit, and that's
402. We're closing
important for like the
calm
progression of the
early
story.
Shippuden. So
Throw
this
it
is
in
the last
now.
part of the video. The progression chart for Guy did not increase, but the same is also true for Kakashi at this time. We do know of a few progressions Kakashi has made that weren't listed, or should I say could not be listed in the progression chart since they are not directly stats, like his acquiring of Kamui or some sorts. Kakashi has improved his Raikiri limit from before, but he can now do 6 Raikiri without being out of chakra against Kakuzu,
That's
while
crazy.
also performing
That's
other jutsu and
crazy
taking
stuff, though.
part in taijutsu exchanges
Such
with
a powerful
Kakuzu,
technique,
at
like.
least in the anime, where they seem around relative with each other in terms of speed and overall combat. This type of thing is fairly consistent for Kakashi. He's always able to somewhat combat the main bad guy of the arc, even Pain to a small degree. And we know that Kakashi, similar to Naruto, would have eventually killed Kakuzu with his Kamui because he mentions it to Naruto when they're speaking in
Damn.
right after the fight. Kakashi claims that if Naruto and Yamato didn't show up when they did, he was about to use Kamui and kill Kakuzu, and implies he didn't before because he thought it would hospitalize him, which makes sense.
Okay.
Because at that point, Kakashi had used up 4 Raikiri and said that he should take it easy because of that.
Alright, and he can use 6, so then using the Kamui on top of the 4 of that would, yeah, okay, cool.
Mentions that Kakashi is a worthy rival. Kakashi also looks at Guy after he did it like, yeah, look what I just did, before he falls back and almost passes out.
You should be impressed.
Passes off as Guy his own ego or just to keep up appearances. And to be fair, just prior to his comment, he has a visible expression of shock or amazement at what Kakashi just did.
Yeah.
Similar to the last section of this video, there's a statement about Kakashi's place among the other Konoha ninja, and this one also says he is Konoha's #1 ninja. However, at this specific point in the series, I think it's fair to say since Guy has access to the gates, and due to other statements, that Guy may be able to contend or even beat Kakashi. Also, this statement about Kakashi being #1 is a lot less conclusive than the other ones, because the others sort of just imply and say he's the strongest, but this one saying he's #1 ninja is kind of vague and could be saying a number of things. While all probably not mutually exclusive, the statement probably doesn't have multiple meanings, as language kind of doesn't work that way, and normally when people say words they mean a specific meaning or have a specific meaning in mind. This could mean Kakashi has completed the most missions, which is true via looking at the character profiles.
There we go.
It tells us how many missions they completed. It could mean Kakashi possesses the most jutsu. It could very well be that Kakashi is stronger and faster than Guy, or it could be literally every single one of these. Also, are we led to believe Kakashi is stronger than Tsunade because of this statement? I, for one, don't think Kakashi at this point is Sannin level, but you could probably argue the Hokage is excluded from this specific statement. This will become a lot more relevant in the next section of this video, but Kakashi being on Guy's level in the 6th gate with his Raikiri is confirmed in the war arc. And I will say this part of the video is probably the most contentious part, as I really do think the fight could go literally either way.
Okay.
The arguments for Kakashi using Kamui to get rid of Guy are also null and void before anyone brings that up in the comment section. Kakashi does not use Kamui that way unless he absolutely has to, and it's only on completely still targets like exploding Deidara or Kakuzu while he's charging his attack. Or, I know he does use it on Deidara while he's moving in the air, but Deidara is literally moving in just a straight line. So
yes, it was quite easy to pinpoint, wasn't it?
To the final section of the video, chapter
You got someone jumping around all over the place, you needed to focus on that, like it took time, didn't it?
going to cover what Data Before covers in the manga, which is from the Pain arc all the way up until the end of the War arc and Kaguya's defeat. This does not include any Naruto versus Sasuke fight, but that's completely irrelevant to this battle anyway. As far as the Pain arc goes, it likely doesn't change much from the previous section of the video. Kakashi hasn't evolved as a fighter at all, there was no time skip or anything, and he's still very hesitant to use Kamui, as shown in his fight and encounter with Pain, since it still drains him heavily. Although he does display a lot of skill with controlling the portal size, being able to Kamui a nail and a moving missile with extremely low chakra. He also shows enough quote-unquote trickery to Pain to the point that Pain didn't even want to get near him at the end of the fight just to be safe, which you could say implies he feared for his well-being, but you could also interpret that as Pain not wanting to use more chakra on possibly multiple Shinra Tenseis or Bancho Tenin on Kakashi. The topic is a bit more interesting during the war arc, as this arc, Kakashi is a lot more willing to use his Mangekyo Sharingan.
Hell yes, he
He
is.
doesn't seem to
It's
train
so
him
cool
as
to
much,
see.
and we also get to see
Oh
Guy
yeah,
cut
the
loose on
8
the
gate.
ace a few times, which is always really nice to see. Plus, this is like the end of the story. Well, up until Boruto, of course, but this is where we get a wrap up to most of the sub narratives going on throughout the show. And the most important one to this video, at least, is the Kakashi versus Guy narrative.
Of course.
Just throughout this video, I've documented every instance in which Kakashi and Guy were seen as rivals to one another, and it dates all the way back to the second arc in the show. To see it all end here is fairly beautiful, and it sort of ends two different times with two different conclusions that would make both sides of the party very happy. The first ending is when Guy is beginning to use the Night Guy on Madara. Kakashi has a flashback where he and his father Sakamo meet a young version of Guy, and his father might die. Kakashi is being his normal, kind of annoying self, scoffing at Guy for failing the interest he's in, to which Guy just replies to Kakashi, saying thank you for your support. And Sakamo tells Kakashi that at the rate Guy is training, he's going to become stronger than Kakashi, and that he would be a great rival for Kakashi, so he should take his name and remember it. Then we cut back to the present where Kakashi says it ended up just as his dad predicted, and he says Guy's name just like his dad told him to remember, as we see the dragon forming around Guy for the Night Guy attack. I like this for a number of reasons. The first being it sort of implies Kakashi's dad has the same level of analytical ability, or even greater than Kakashi, which is something highlighted for Kakashi in the first data.
It's interesting, yeah, you can pass down, you're going to be similar to your
Sakamo was able to predict
relatives.
30 years earlier that Guy's method of training would lead him to surpass Kakashi at some point.
Excuse me.
This also just sort of implies to me that Guy is inferior to Kakashi at the point prior to this, which makes it sort of pointless to go over Kakashi versus Guy with gates 1 through 7. As the narrative plot point is being brought up here, rather than earlier, we know this is when Kakashi was surpassed and not at the points prior. The second conclusion to this narrative comes during the Kaguya fight, and I'm sure a lot of you know where I'm going with this and what I'm talking about. Obviously, DMS Kakashi. This one is actually great, even though a lot of people didn't like it some time ago due to it not being properly explained and kind of coming out of nowhere. But allow me to break it down in extremely simple
Such a sick upgrade that he gets.
But for the sake of not confusing too much, I'll refer to these different time spaces as dimensions. Kamui is a dimension that Obito can connect through his MS ability. I cannot stress this enough. No, that is not what Kamui is. Kamui is the ability to connect two different dimensions, and what is commonly known as the Kamui dimension is just what fans call it to make conversation more simple. Both Kakashi and Obito just call it our time space, or the data book calls it the other dimension. We see Obito use Kamui to connect Kaguya's dimensions to one another to locate Sasuke. So now that that has been explained, part 2 is that Obito used Kamui to connect one dimension to another. That being the Pure Land where his chakra was currently, and where it last was right beside Kakashi in the pile of ash. Earlier in the fight, we find out Obito can mark different dimensions with his Sharingan or chakra in chapter 685. So Obito convoys from the afterlife into the actual world so he can give Kakashi his Mangekyo Sharingan. Any further explanation on this would kind of just be banter, so I'll just leave that.
I do like that he explained that. That was cool.
From Obito is a nice contrast to how Obito was earlier, where he was sort of doing everything on his own, just like he was led to believe is correct. And we get that speech from Kakashi that someone who has a heart full of comrades is truly strong, as the whole Konoha 11 stands against Obito. It's just kind of cool. Kakashi at this point is obviously much more powerful than Guy. Not only is he passively intangible, he can attack while intangible, as seen when he charges his Kamui Raikiri. He also has hacks. His giant Susanoo, he has the ability to summon these giant
shurikens while he's in the Susanoo. It's just like, what?
That kind of make it easy to fight Guy. And even especially in the 8th gate, with Guy being a ticking time bomb kind of thing. Like, imagine Guy went to kick Madara with the Night Guy, and instead of the kick landing, he just went directly through Madara and Guy hit the God Tree itself. Obviously, Guy would just die and Kakashi is gonna live. I don't want to cover any weird Naruto era content.
Good.
A lot of that stuff is far too controversial.
I need to catch up on Boruto, actually. I haven't read like the last couple of chapters.
If you like the video, be sure to leave
And
a like
Super, I
on
need to catch up on Dragon Ball
it.
Super, actually, isn't it?
Annoyed by me and the power scaling, maybe subscribe as well. But that's it, and as always, have a nice day.
Cool video. Yeah. Constantly. But yeah, Kakashi at the end just nails it. Absolutely, just purely nails it. You can't compete with Kakashi at the end. It's unreal. So yeah, fun video. I do apologise, guys. I am really struggling to keep as upbeat as I normally am. Like I've mentioned this once before, but like I fell over running the other day. I had to go to the hospital, and I've cracked my ribs, and I'm just like on painkillers, and it's painful. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all that helps support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for all that, and thank you all for watching. Excuse me. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.